Thank you so much for 2K subscribers. And clips that are not mine are used under fair use policy. Mythbusters. I've been rewatching this childhood gem on Amazon Prime, and there was a certain myth that stood out to me, that being paper armor, where the Mythbusters made and tested paper armor and saw how it fared against standard steel. Another YouTuber, Lewis Weiss, who I know as Chicken Slapper Guy, already tested this myth, but I want to use updated resources. I want to test and make modern paper armor. So, paper armor. I was going to do the Mythbusters drawing thing, but my stupid tripod fell over. Before we build it, there are a couple things we need to figure out. Lewis used a layered approach, but I'm going to do something similar to the Mythbusters and fold over paper into individual plates. This was because during testing, folded paper without any glue provided the most energy absorption, which is what we want. I also wanted to create a design similar to the two shown in the myth. Next, I need a material for the base, where I'm going to attach my armor plating, and it needs to be flexible. I was originally going to use this white fabric as it provided the characteristics I needed, but then I wouldn't be making this entirely out of paper, and it wouldn't be true paper armor, which is what I'm here to do. So we'll use one of man's greatest inventions, cardboard. And lastly, what are we going to test it against? We have a hatchet, a standard axe, I got a bow from one friend, arrows from the other, and combined we have our ranged weapon. Oh, we also have a mace. Yeah, I own a mace. With all that taken care of, we can finally start building. We'll start with an Amazon box, which I think is very fitting. Then we'll dismantle this box until we have the two largest size, which will be used as the bases for the armor. Measuring each piece, they are 12 by 9¼ inches, and this is important to determine how many armor scales that we'll need to make. Each scale will be made of a pristine 8.5 by 11 standard sheet of paper, and we'll fold it as many times as we can to get the layering that we need to possibly stop any projectile or weapon that we'll use. Once you get to 4 folds or 16 layers, it's pretty hard to bend it even further, so this will be our scale that we'll be using for our armor. To finish each scale, we'll put a piece of scotch tape over the folded side to keep it in place. It measures 2.75 by 2 1/8 inches. Taking our two measurements and accounting for the overhang on the long side, as well as the overlap between the scales, we'll get 7 scales by 5 scales for the entire armor. These are the calculations I did. Pause it if you want to go through them, but with our answers, we need at least 35 scales. I'll make a total of 40 in this montage here, so we don't just have the number we need, but also some extras if anything happens to go wrong. Before we attach anything, I'll use this technique I learned in art class called scoring, which helps you make the cardboard be able to bend without breaking it completely. Put together, our final design should look like this, but there's nothing attaching it yet. And that's because, for some reason, the only glue I own in my house is wood glue. I had to go outside of all places and purchase some Elmer's glue all, which is apparently extra strong, and we're going to put that to the test. I lined up each row I would do, and then glued them plate by plate, which I instantly messed up by not having the row level with the cardboard. This is why I made the extras. I redid the first row, and to make sure everything stuck correctly, I took an old book of home remedies, as well as a 15-pound weight to place on top of it, so everything would dry in the proper position. I then repeated the process 6 more times until the cardboard was completely full. After sitting overnight, here is our finished paper armor. It is still flexible even with all the plates attached, and with each row, I also alternated the way the paper opens, which should help with projectile impact. All we have left to do is test if our paper armor will actually protect us. The testing ground would be my backyard, centered by this giant log. I put a measuring tape under it to measure out the distance we would be shooting at, and I marked it at 20 feet, just like the Mythbusters did in their tests. There's no way I'm wearing the armor when we're actually shooting at it, and I don't have the funds for a good human analog, so we have a melon, which will be placed on top of the log. Okay. We also have a tripod set up to the side to capture the arrows flying through without getting anyone hurt. Each test will start with the practice arrow, then move on to the melee weapons, and finish with the hunting arrow. To secure the armor, I taped it to the watermelon and put rocks behind them for support. I was going to shoot it myself, but I suck, so we got my friend to do the archery.
Okay. I'm ready. Go. Yes!
Here is the side view. And here is the same footage slowed down.
Worked perfectly, actually. Oh my god. Okay, hatchet test.
Okay. Yeah. With any damage?
I don't know, but clean sweep over there.
A little bit of damage.
A fleck of skin.
Here is the hatchet cut after the fact. It hit these two plates, deforming them but not going through, so we have success with little damage.
Round 2, we got a mace. Oh! Look how far that went! Yeah, that blew that up. Oh my god. There's the mace puncture wounds, and
wow,
it even got through the back.
While the puncture holes are only a few layers deep, the damage to the watermelon shows that this armor will not protect against severe damage from the mace.
Hunting arrow in 3, 2, 1. Oh, now did it go through? Yeah, that went through, but only just. It's right here. Yes, that cut.
The hunting arrow found a way to get between the gaps of the platelets, which is why I had the overlap. Despite that, however, it still went cleanly through and would provide an injury. Now let's recap. Our paper armor was able to stop the practice arrow. Against the hatchet, it had no significant injuries, but it took severe damage from the mace, and you would suffer minor injuries from a hunting arrow. As you can see, this video isn't over, and that's because I actually made 3 versions of this armor. Here is Paper Armor version 2. We improved upon the original by having a 50% overlap over all of the plates, so you have to go through double the layers, and we also added a second layer of cardboard. Let's see what it improved on.
Paper Armor V2 versus Practice Arrow. Whenever you're ready. There we go.
I missed the side view on this shot, so here's what happens when it misses the armor.
Now it bounced off, but did it leave any damage? Because this side is intact.
No, not really. It just kind of bounced off.
Maybe a slight cut right here. It didn't go through because it hit here. There's nothing there.
As expected, the upgraded armor also blocked the practice arrow. I decided to remove the hatchet as it didn't even do much against the first version of armor.
Okay. We got the mace again. That's it.
Oh.
That's it. Because that was the crack from earlier. It worked.
Wow. All right. Hey.
You'd survive that. You'd get a nice big bruise and a bit of a stab, but... that would be a decent injury, but you would survive.
We got major improvements with the mace. There was minimal damage to the actual armor, but the force still broke it open and shoved some of the paper down into the hole that was created, and this would still provide a decent injury.
Paper Armor V2 versus Hunting Arrow whenever you're ready. It got through.
It didn't hit the watermelon.
But it didn't hit the watermelon, but also we had the gap.
Yeah.
Not a pass, but still survivable.
Here is where the hunting arrow hit, and despite our extra layering, it still went cleanly through, meaning I can't give it a pass yet. To recap Paper Armor version 2, it easily stopped the practice arrow, but still had trouble with the mace, and still couldn't stop the hunting arrow. We finally arrive at Paper Armor version 3, which has the same 50% overlap. It also has a second layer of cardboard under, as well as a third layer of folded paper, which gives you 48 layers that you have to pass through. Will it be able to stop what I throw at it? Let's find out.
Paper Armor V3 versus Practice Arrow whenever you're ready. Yeah, we know it's gonna stop the practice arrow.
Even at a weaker point, the practice arrow only left a small dent.
Paper Armor V3 versus the mace.
Damn. Wow.
Oh my god.
That was really good.
That's directly on. It did blow it back, but it survived the impact entirely. Like, I know there was a bit of a gap, but still. It got through, but it lived. Wow.
With only a small indentation, I can finally say that we beat the mace.
Paper Armor V3 versus Hunting Arrow. Perfect. And that spun the armor around. But it didn't get through.
Wow.
Nothing to see there. Worked like a charm. I don't know how many layers it got. I'm assuming through the cardboard, but it got stuck at the second paper layer.
Yeah.
But yeah, we stopped the hunting era. The axe. I don't think anything's surviving this. That wasn't even hard.
Wow. Well, hey.
Nothing's surviving that. That cracked the initial wound and created a new one. Wow. And again, I didn't really strike that.
The watermelon could not survive the axe. Even days later, the armor looks like a crime scene. I hit the same spot that I did with the mace, so it also increased the injury that the mace caused, even breaking through, which didn't happen before. So even with my best attempt, nothing can stop the axe. I do have to give version 3 some credit, as the watermelon was already damaged beforehand. For version 3, we were able to stop the practice arrow, mace, hunting arrow, but unfortunately not the axe. To answer our question, can you make modern paper armor? Yeah, you surprisingly can. With only glue, tape, paper, and cardboard, you can make some decent armor. By the end, we were able to stop every weapon we threw at it, except the axe. We didn't try a sword, but that's because I didn't own one, but based on how the axe couldn't make much of a dent, I don't think even a sword could cut it, which we could always test later. The armor performed well, but still has its weaknesses. Rain, of course, and real weapons. But if you're stuck in the craft store during the apocalypse, I know something you can make. I got a ton of bug bites making this video as well, but I also got some juicy pulverized watermelon. But overall, I had a fun experience putting a bit of my engineering skills to the test. And while I'm always going to post LEGO and gaming videos, I'm looking to create and engineer more things with my skills. With this video, we enter a new era for this channel, so thank you for watching and listening.